got a slip in your palm and a hole in your chest. Black coffee on the felt, man, you look like a mess. 3-team parlay turned to dust in your hand. Now you stare at the chips like they made you this man. But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now. Hold on, hold on. Not tonight, not now. Hold on, hold on. Let me pull you out. That fella bites hard, but it don't get the crown.
What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports. It is Friday, June 19th. We had a 3-0 day on the show yesterday. Depending on if you played the A's game the way that I recommended on the show, we did have a win in the afternoon with the World Cup with Switzerland. Switzerland pretty much dominated that game statistically, even though the game was scoreless probably at the 60-minute mark, beyond that probably. Then Switzerland scored to go up 1-0, which they should have probably already been ahead at that point if you look at the stats in the game. But that sort of just made the game unravel, and Bosnia just started playing cheap pretty much, and they got a red card, so they were then down a man after that. I mean, the game was pretty much over at that point. Switzerland put another goal in at that point. And then I stopped watching it. It's like, all right, it's 2-0. The game's over. There wasn't much time left. I don't know what happened, but the 90-minute mark and extra time saw 3 more goals scored. Switzerland scored, then Bosnia scored, then Switzerland scored again. I don't know what happened in that chaos at the end, but whatever. It was a deserved win for Switzerland, though, based on the stats in the game. I think it was the right call. Then we had Major League Baseball, Kansas City in the first 5 innings. It was a win. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. They were winning 11-4 at the end of the 5th inning, I'm pretty sure is what it was. And they won, I think the final in that game was 14-6. It was completely ridiculous. Yeah, like it got to a point where it was like Kansas City was winning I think 7-2 in the 3rd inning, and then it looked like they were going to blow that, and all of a sudden it's 7-3. St. Louis has the bases loaded. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But Noah Cameron got out of that jam. He wasn't great in the game, but he was better than Liberatore, who was out of the game before the 2nd inning was over. So we did get the win. Kansas City put up a ton of runs in that game, so I think it was the right call. We got it right. And then if you did what I said with the A's game, because the thing was that Soriano was listed as day-to-day with some injury, and I'm like, well, why is that? It looked like he was going to start, and I liked the handicap that way too, but I said what you should do is pick Gage Jump must start, but don't select an Angels starter to start. Because Soriano, there was a chance he wouldn't start, and that's what happened. He didn't start. So Anaheim went with some sort of spot starter or bullpen game or something. Gage Jump was good on the other side. The A's wound up winning the game 5-0. I think it was 5-0 at the end of the first 5 as well. But that was a winner as well, as long as you played it that way. So I am counting that as a win because I said that specifically on the show. Which typically I don't do that. Like I had to take a no play on the Detroit play earlier in the week because that one I don't really know if I would have wanted it with the bullpen game going on for Detroit. So, but last night, like I said, like anybody that would fill in for Soriano was going to be a downgrade for Anaheim, and that was the case. If you got to it late, you had to pay more of a price on the A's. Like once it was announced that Soriano wasn't in, I knew that had to have been the announcement before I even looked to see, because I was looking at the odds, and I'm like, oh, all of a sudden the A's are like minus 180 on the full game to win this thing, and now they're, or whatever it was. I think it might have been minus 180 in the first 5, and then the minus half run was like minus 130 in the first 5. I'm like, I guess Soriano's not pitching. So that was correct. But so we got a good number on that too if you played it the way that I recommended in the morning. But whatever, I'm rambling. Kyle, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Mr. Pinsy, what's up? Yeah, that's why they call me the throat goat. It's not for any other reason. All right, baseball. We do have one afternoon Wrigley Field game. I'm giving out 2 plays here on the show today, both in baseball. One side, one total. Soccer, I mean, I have, I guess, one opinion that's stronger than the rest. I'll give out like a somewhat strong opinion in the WNBA, but I don't think I like either one enough to do it. Plus, those are kind of my sports that I don't know enough about. So I'm sticking with baseball on the card today. I do not have a play in this afternoon game. Every play is in the evening for me here. Toronto and the Cubs, Wrigley, with one of these patented Wrigley Field afternoon games like I was alluding to. Toronto played yesterday and the Cubs did not. So Toronto is at a rest disadvantage here. The Cubs are actually staying at home. They played the Rockies 2 days ago and I believe wound up winning that series. Toronto just swept the Red Sox and now they're coming in. The Red Sox cannot score at all. And by the way, I did make a mistake. Max Scherzer didn't pitch in that game where the Red Sox got shut out. Scherzer, he might not be back, dude. His career might just be over. I have no idea, but he did not pitch in that game. So the Red Sox failed to hit whoever the fill-in starter was for Toronto there. So it wasn't as bad. I think failing to hit Max Scherzer is probably worse, like more of an indictment than failing to hit a spot starter, but whatever. Toronto might be in maybe a little bit of a letdown off of a divisional sweep like that, plus having to travel. I think the Cubs set up a little bit better in this game. Toronto used some relief pitchers yesterday. They only used 2, though. Cubs do have the better bullpen, and they're more rested. They're ranked 10th. I arranged this by whip. Toronto is 11th. I think there was a little bit more of a gap than that, although it doesn't really look that way based on the numbers. But I think the Cubs do have the better bullpen here. Cubs have the better offense. They're ranked 10th. The Blue Jays are 22nd. They have not hit very well. This does look like a pitching duel, and the odds makers are also telling you that, lining the game at 7 on the total here, which also could mean that there's wind blowing in here too, but I think a 7 might be appropriate just based on the starting pitching alone here. So it might not even be a windy day here. It might just be entirely based on the starting pitching. Kevin Gausman is pitching for the Blue Jays. He's been good, 3.41 ERA, 1.03 whip, a little bit worse on the road, 3.89 road ERA, but he's been really good this month in 3 starts, 20-4 strikeout walk ratio. He's allowed a few too many runs, I guess you could say, but he's faced some pretty good offenses in here. I'm not going to really knock him for that. He got a little bit unlucky, I would say, just allowing too many home runs this month. But I think that's more fluky. He hasn't allowed a lot of hits. His command numbers are good here. The same goes for the whole season with them. Low hit rate, low walk rate, strikeout rate is around 1 per inning, which is pretty strong. And he's got good numbers against Chicago as well here. 83 at bats, 169 batting average, 526 OPS. 26-6 strikeout walk ratio. So I don't really want to fade Gausman here. I think if you're going to play the Cubs, you're playing on the fact that they have the rest advantage. They do have a good starting pitcher here still, and they have a bullpen advantage. So I think that's why you're playing the Cubs here if you do want them. The price actually might be a little bit cheap because I think Gausman is getting more respect from the market than Ben Brown is, but Ben Brown easily can hang with Gausman, though, the way that he's been pitching. 1.74 ERA, 0.97 whip from him. He is slightly worse at home, 2.05 ERA. That's not even bad, though. Now, a lot of these numbers were him making relief appearances, but he's been in the starting rotation for a while now, like I think at least a month, and he's been good. He's allowed 1 or fewer earned runs in 4 straight outings now, going at least 5 innings in every one of those. Last 2 outings were against San Francisco, so those were easier outings because that's a weak offense that he was facing there. And he did walk a few too many, I guess, in those outings. Maybe his strikeout rate was a little bit too low, but he's still, I would say he's still in good form right now. I think he's good. His numbers on the season, he's got a really low hit rate. His walk rate's not bad either. Strikeout rate is all right. He has very similar numbers to Gausman, actually, if you look at it that way. And against Toronto, they only have 15 at-bats against them, although they have actually succeeded against them. 333 batting average allowed, 975 OPS, 2-to-1 strikeout walk ratio. I don't want to put too much weight into that because it's such a small sample size. I don't actually think Brown is going to pitch poorly here. I believe the money is backing the Cubs here. Let me see. Yeah, it is. 60% of tickets, 84% of the cash on the Cubs at around minus 120. And I kind of agree with it because they do have the rest advantage here, plus the bullpen advantage, plus I think the pitchers are kind of closely matched. I think the under makes sense in this game as well. You got two all right bullpens. They're both pretty rested here. The total's at 7. It's low for a reason. The money is coming in on the over, though. 74% of tickets, 91% of the cash on the over. I think the under makes more sense in that game. Probably the way I would lean in that game. I think I would lean to the under more so than the side in that game, really. But Brown's matchup numbers, even though it's a small sample size, they do kind of scare me off of it a little bit. Sometimes you shouldn't be totally scared off of it by a small sample size in the matchup numbers, but I still take that into account, and it might be like part of the deciding factor for me. I don't know. It's just the way that I do it. Maybe it's my autism, just like, you can't do it, man. You can't play on a guy that has matchup numbers like this. Gerald, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right, evening baseball, White Sox and Detroit. Both teams here are in negative spots here. Detroit is returning home from a road trip. They're staying in the central time zone, though. They went to Cleveland and then Houston, but still they've been away for a week. You know, when a team returns home from the road, a lot of times they'll be distracted and get back to home life and whatever. So it is a negative for Detroit, but they might not overlook the White Sox because Detroit's in last place in an AL Central where they're supposed to be one of the better teams in the division, and the White Sox have come from out of nowhere and are tied in first place with Cleveland right now. So I don't know that Detroit's really going to overlook the White Sox. So it might be an opponent that they will still focus on. The White Sox also could be in a letdown spot possibly because they just beat the Yankees yesterday. That's always big when you beat the Yankees. Like, I know the White Sox have kind of already proven themselves here, and they won a series against the Dodgers, but beating the Yankees in the Bronx, I mean, that's still a pretty big win for them yesterday. Even if the Yankees might have overlooked them a little bit because the Yankees had already won the series. White Sox are traveling in from New York now, so they are having to travel. Detroit was actually off yesterday, by the way, so Detroit is more rested here, but they have more travel. So Detroit does have a rest advantage here, but, you know, there are negatives for both teams in the situation here. The White Sox used some amount of their bullpen yesterday. They only used one guy, actually, out of their bullpen, so their bullpen is fairly rested here. Their bullpen's not great. They're ranked 17th. Detroit is ranked 19th. Detroit's bullpen ERA is a little bit better, though. I think Detroit does have the somewhat better bullpen here, but they're both mediocre-ish bullpens. White Sox are the better offense. I don't think there's any question about that. They're tied in 7th in offense. The Tigers are 22nd, so they are not a very good offense right now. But all that being said, this is a huge starting pitching mismatch here in favor of Detroit. Eric Fedde looks like he's getting the start for the White Sox here, although I wouldn't be 100% sure that they will do that. So if you're going to do something with this game, I would probably pick Skubal must start for Detroit because that's a huge part of the handicap, obviously, and he looks like he is starting. White Sox probably are going to have Fedde pitching in this game, but they might put an opener in front of him because they have done that multiple times this year, so I am not 100% sure that he will actually pitch to start the game here, but I think he will pitch in the game and get like the majority of the pitching duties here. Fedde is not really good. 4.5 ERA, 1.41 whip. That's not great. He's been bad on the road. 6.18 road ERA. That's not good. Didn't last long in his last outing against the Dodgers. I don't know why they shortened it, though, because he wasn't actually pitching that badly. He didn't give up any runs. I don't know if he got injured or I don't know what the deal is there, but he looks like he's pitching on schedule here, so I don't know. He's actually been okay this month, though. Fedde, he's only allowed 1 run in 12 2/3 innings this month, and he had to face the Dodgers and the Braves. But he has, actually, his strikeout walk ratio is not that bad either, 10-3. So Fedde is actually in somewhat better form recently. I still don't trust him. He's got a somewhat high hit rate. His walk rate is too high. Strikeout rate is really low, so he doesn't fool anybody. And you look at his numbers against Detroit, they're not good. They've seen a decent amount of him. 48 at-bats, 292 average, 958 OPS, 11.3 strikeout walk ratio. So I would still not want to trust Fetty here. Skubal, like I said, is pitching for the Tigers here. I mean, pretty much you can just assume that he's going to pitch well in every start that he's going to make. I would not want to bank on him not pitching well. It's just kind of a matter of price and whatever. 2.81 ERA, 0.98 whip from him. He has been a little bit worse at home this year, 3.55 home ERA, but he hasn't pitched that much this year so far because he got injured in late April, and it was unclear when he was going to come back, and he came back in his most recent start. He wasn't great against Cleveland. He didn't make it 5 innings in the game, did give up 2 earned runs, but he was fine, I think, in the game. I know Cleveland is a weak offense and whatever, and a bunch of their hitters just recently went down. 4-1 strikeout walk ratio in 4 2/3 innings, though. It looks like Skubal's command was there. They pulled him at 80 pitches. I think they didn't want to overwork him and whatever. He didn't get any run support in the game, so whatever. But I think Skubal is going to be back in form at some point, probably in the near future, possibly in this start. I wouldn't really want to fade him here. He's going to be going up against the White Sox, though. They are a good offense, but they have not done well against him in the past. They only have 6 guys who have faced him, but 43 at-bats. They only have a 209 average against him, 500 OPS, 9-2 strikeout walk ratio. I would not want to fade Skubal, really. Like I said, I don't really ever want to fade him unless there's like a really, really good reason to do so. Detroit has 83% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on them. They look like a public side. I mean, I don't think you can lay minus 230 or whatever with Detroit in a return home spot. There's no way that I would recommend that. It seems like you could maybe go with Detroit over their team total or something. Just go with Detroit to score runs against this White Sox pitching staff here that includes Fetty. And the money is hitting the over with the total at 8, 68% of the tickets, 91% of the cash on the over. But I don't love offenses when they're returning home from a road trip either. And Detroit's offense has not been stellar at all, so I don't really want to do that either. Plus, if you do it that way, you're taking the advantage that you get with Skubal out of the equation. I mean, yeah, I just don't see a real way to play this game, man. I just don't. There's too many factors that are kind of going against each other in the game, so that game is definitely a pass for me. Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. The next game is Cincinnati and the Yankees. The Yankees played yesterday, but they're staying at home. They just lost to the White Sox, losing a 4-game win streak. Sometimes when you lose a win streak, it'll hang you over into the next game, but the Yankees are going to be a massive favorite here. They have a huge starting pitching advantage here, so I don't think the Yankees are going to lose. I don't think I want to fade them here. Cincinnati is traveling in from Cincinnati, so they're starting a road trip here. It's a focus spot for Cincinnati at the very least. They're just not a good team, though. When a team starts a road trip, they should be focused, and they're going to the Bronx. You know, they're playing the Yankees, so you got to expect Cincinnati will be focused. Cincinnati does have a rest advantage because they didn't play yesterday, but the Yankees have a travel advantage because they're not traveling. The Yankees did use 3 relief pitchers yesterday, but they still have the better bullpen anyway. The Yankees are ranked 9th. Their bullpen ERA is pretty good. Cincinnati's still ranked dead last in bullpen, although their ERA is not actually the worst, but they're 3rd worst in bullpen ERA. So there is a pretty big bullpen advantage for the Yankees here, despite the rest scenario. Yankees are number 2 in offense. The Reds are, where are they even at? The Reds are 21st, so the Reds have fallen off again. Yankees have the advantage there as well. Rhett Lauder is pitching for Cincinnati. He's a young guy. He might have some talent, but he doesn't look like he has great strikeout stuff, and he doesn't have good numbers. I would not trust him. 4.6 ERA, 1.43 whip. He's been bad on the road, 5.84 road ERA. That's not good. Pitched well in his last start against Arizona at home, so that was a good outing from him. But he walked 5 guys in 3 innings against St. Louis the start before that. Even though he didn't allow any runs in that game, that walk number is very concerning. He's had multiple walks in all of his starts that go all the way back through the beginning of May, which is only 4 starts because I think he was possibly back down in the minors or something. I don't know. But his strikeout walk ratio over that span is very bad. It's 12 strikeouts to 15 walks. That is not going to cut it. And over the course of the season, his walk rate is way too high. More than 1 every 2 innings. His hit rate is okay. He doesn't allow that many hits. Strikeout rate is low as well. Again, I don't think he's a trustworthy pitcher. The Yankees have never faced him before, except Bellinger and Goldschmidt have actually faced him for 4 at-bats, but the rest of the team hasn't faced him before. Goldschmidt does have a double off him. Bellinger has a walk, and neither have struck out against him. I don't think there's a whole lot to see there with 4 at-bats, but I just don't trust Lauder. I don't expect him to do particularly well here, even though the Yankees haven't really seen him, and that unfamiliarity can help the pitcher. The unfamiliarity goes both ways here because Cam Schlittler is pitching for the Yankees. He's obviously the way better pitcher here. 1.82 ERA, 0.91 whip. He's way more established at this point. He's not as good at home, 3.03 home ERA, which is still good. It's just a more hitter-friendly park, whatever. Both pitchers are in the worst of their home road splits, but I do not expect Schlittler to pitch poorly here. He's been pitching well all season, really. He's allowed more than 3 earned runs only 1 time. He's got a pretty high strikeout rate, low hit rate, low walk rate. Everything looks good here. And against the Reds, like I said, they basically have no experience against him. They're pretty much the same almost. They have 4 at-bats across 2 hitters against him, Lowe and Myers, Nathaniel Lowe. Briefly on the Red Sox, Nathaniel Lowe. 1 strikeout, 1 walk in here. The only hit is a single from Lowe, whatever. Yankees likely win this game, but they're heavily, heavily favored here. I don't think you can lay a price like this. Minus 260 something, minus 270 with the Yankees. The money is actually fading them. 93% of the tickets, 87% of the cash on the Yankees. I think it's really just because the Yankees are clearly just overpriced in the market. But does that mean they're going to lose? No. I kind of doubt that they do. The money's also playing the over, and the total's at 8.5, which seems like a pretty high total for a Schlittler game. Really, I think the way to probably play this is to just play Yankees over their team total. I mean, I sound like a broken record with that, but I mean, that seems like the way to play this game because you can't really play the side at this price. I wouldn't really want to lay a run line that you might have to lay like 2 runs or something. Cincinnati's pitching staff should give up runs to the Yankees here, and the Yankees are the highest scoring home team in baseball, so I think that's probably more the way I would look at it, even though that does remove Schlittler. The advantage that you get from him, it takes that out of the equation. I don't like doing that. Like when you have an ace pitcher, Skubal, Schlittler, I wouldn't want to take them out of what I'm doing, in the game. It's just that it's really difficult to find a way to play those teams on the actual side. San Francisco at Miami. I considered putting this game on my card, even though we don't know who Miami is going to start here. If you look 5 games ago, Miami went with a bullpen game, so I'm pretty sure Miami's going with a bullpen game here. But their bullpen is actually pretty good, and it's rested here, so I'm not 100% sure that I actually want to fade Miami's bullpen here. I'm also not 100% sure I want to back Landon Roop, however you pronounce his name. Miami, though, they're in a bad spot. They're returning home from the road. They went to Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. And you know what I always say? Even though they're not traveling across time zones, you know what I say? Team returning home from the road, a lot of times they'll be distracted. They have to get back to home life. I don't think facing the Giants is that big of a deal for them. They just clobbered Philly in their last game, so they might be in a little bit of a letdown off of that win as well, even though they had to salvage the 1 game in that series there. Not a good spot for Miami, though, on the return home. They're playing San Francisco. San Francisco also didn't play yesterday because their last game got rained out. A lot of bad weather, as Garrett, I think, pointed, or no, it was Pete in the chat pointed out that Atlanta had some bad storms going through there. So that game was indeed rained out. So San Francisco also didn't play yesterday. So we have 2 teams that are rested here. San Francisco is only traveling from Atlanta to Miami, so that's not too bad. As far as the bullpens, Miami is the better bullpen. They're ranked 4th here. Saab, I see you in the chat in 1 second. Welcome back, man. And then we got the Giants at 25th in bullpen. Their bullpen ERA is better than that. Like, they're not, like, actually a bottom 10 bullpen, but they're not a great bullpen. So Miami does have the better bullpen here. Giants are ranked 11th in offense, and Miami is 20th, but I don't think the Giants' offense is good. Like I said, they had, like, 3 massive outlier offensive performances that are skewing their numbers. Landon Raup is pitching for the Giants here. Like I said, I think he's a decent pitcher. 4.24 ERA, 1.29 whip is getting a little bit high, though. He's better on the road this year, 3.95 road ERA. And this will be a pitcher-friendly environment, although the Giants stadium is supposed to be pitcher-friendly, and he hasn't pitched that well here. My main issue with Raup, though, is that he's not pitching well this month. He has 10 walks in 14 to third innings, as I mentioned yesterday, because he was supposed to pitch yesterday. 14 to 10 strikeout walk ratio this month. That's not going to do it, man. I mean, those numbers tell you that his command is off right now, so that's not good. He didn't make it 5 innings in his last game against the Cubs, but maybe you give him a pass because it was a second straight start against the Cubs, so they knew what they had to do to make adjustments to the first game against him, even though he walked too many guys in that game, too. He does not have good numbers against the Cubs historically, though, so I actually faded him in the first game against the Cubs, and we barely got the win there. But, yeah, I just don't trust him right now. Though overall, his numbers are not too bad. He's got a high strikeout rate still. Nice ground ball rate, induces a lot of ground balls. He's got a low hit rate, but his walks are a problem. His walk rate is definitely still too high. Raup against Miami. I believe he does have good numbers here. Well, yeah, they only have 23 at-bats against him. They have 1 hit. Their only hit against him is a single from Liam Hicks. They have 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. That's an 0.43 batting average and 163 OPS. So, yeah, Raup has dominated Miami when he's faced them, so he does draw a pretty good matchup here. And with Miami in the return home spot, Miami is going with a bullpen game here, most likely. Like I have said, though, their bullpen is actually decent, and they've had some decent bullpen games. I don't think I quite want to do it. Raup is just not in great form right now, but I do like San Francisco in this one. And you get them as an underdog here. I think I would go first 5. Well, maybe not, because I know Miami has the better bullpen, but Miami's bullpen is going to be pitching the entire game. So, yeah, I think just San Francisco full game maybe on the side actually makes sense here. I think that's what I would do if I was going to play the game. This one is not quite going to make my card, but hold on. Where is Raup here? There he is. San Francisco is getting the money, 57% of the tickets, 94% of the cash on them. So do with that info what you want, but it looks like the money is agreeing with me on San Francisco there. Money is also backing the over at 8. I don't really have a good opinion on the total there. I'm not sure I'd want to go over in that game. But I like San Francisco on the side, and you're getting them as an underdog because Miami's around minus 120 something here. So you're getting a team that has a good shot to win the game, I think, as an underdog. A lot of times that is the way that I like to look in these money line sports like this. So that's close to being a play for me. Saab, you're on the under 2.5 in USA and Australia. I struggle with that one because I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, the USA definitely, they scored more goals than they should have. There was an own goal there, so I would agree with playing an under in a USA game coming off of a game like that. Australia, I think, overperformed, though, so I don't know. You could wind up getting that win. Like, it could be like a 2-0 USA win or something. So, it might be something like that. I agree with you on Scotland. I'll talk about that in a minute. And Paraguay, I don't have a good read on that game or that match. I think both Paraguay and whoever their opponent is, I think are both in positive spots there. A free bet on the USA. What did you play them on the money line? What did you do? I would not play the USA. They're not my favorite play there. They clearly overperformed in their last game. The USA is overrated. And again, the USA is going to be overvalued in the entire World Cup unless they play a team that's like a powerhouse that's clearly better than them. You're not going to get any value playing the U.S. because all the books are U.S. books. and everybody wants to bet on the U.S. in the U.S., so you're not going to get any value with betting the U.S. I wouldn't do it at any point throughout this group stage, at the very least. Next game up will be a play for me. This is a similar spot to that last one that I talked about, but I like this one a little bit better. We're going to take Washington in the first 5 on the money line, plus 105, fading Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I mean, they're a team that started out really hot. They haven't been playing well recently, though. They've lost 5 of their last 6, and I know a lot of times I will like to play on a team that looks bad recently because there's recency bias. And yes, they did just lose to the Dodgers, but that's part of the reason I want to fade them here is because they lost every game against the Dodgers by 1. So they played really tough against the Dodgers. That was a big series, man. Almost being able to get a win against the Dodgers. They could have won every game, potentially, against the Dodgers, and instead they lost every one. I think that's brutal, coming off a big series like that. You're returning home across the country. Both teams were off yesterday, by the way, so there's no rest advantage for one team over the other. But Tampa is going to have to readjust to the Eastern time zone now, coming back from the West Coast, plus it's a return home spot on top of that, which I think is a negative because you got to get back to home life. You got stuff to do. Tampa Bay is... I know they're trying to win in the AL East and whatever, but there's a big, big gap between them and all the teams below them in the AL East, and I don't know how seriously they're going to take Washington. It's not exactly... I don't think this is exactly a motivated spot for Tampa Bay, even if, yes, they did just lose 5 of 6 on the road trip, but the fact that they lost twice to Anaheim is kind of an indictment, really, because Anaheim's a bad team, although I think they're worse on the road. Tampa Bay, yeah, I do not like the spot for them. Returning home, cross-country, returning home from the road. They're going to have stuff to do back at home. Washington is in a better travel spot here because Washington is starting a road trip, and they're just coming in from Washington, so they're staying on the East Coast here. Washington, they just lost a win streak. I know, they lost a 4-game win streak. Sometimes that will hang you over into the next game, but I think they just looked right past Kansas City in their last game. They'd already won the series. I think they might have been looking ahead or something. So I think I'm going to give Washington a pass for that. Also, Washington is very good on the road. For whatever reason, Washington is terrible at home, and they're really good on the road, 23-14. So you want to look to play Washington as a road team this year, at least as far as the season's gone so far. Yes, I know Tampa's been really good at home, 24-9. I get that. But Washington is a good road team, and we're looking at the spot here. That lines up pretty well. We're going to take the bullpens out because Washington's bullpen is totally untrustworthy. They're ranked 24th. I don't want anything to do with their bullpen. Tampa Bay is ranked 18th, and Tampa Bay's ERA is almost as bad as Washington's, but you can't say that you have an advantage with Washington's bullpen, so they're going out. We're going to focus on just the starting pitching here, and we're going to play on Cade Cavalli, man. I actually think Cavalli is kind of underrated. I don't think he's that bad. He's a young guy. He seems to be finally pitching somewhat up to his potential recently, which hasn't happened throughout his career so far. Plus, I mean, look at this handlebar stash that he's got, man. Do you not want to put money on that? I mean, come on. 3.98 ERA, 1.39 whip I know is not good. His whip is too high. He's a little bit worse on the road, 4.28 road ERA, but his splits are not very significant. But if you look at what he's done recently, he's been pretty consistent. At least he's been okay over the past, really for the whole season. He's allowed 4 or fewer earned runs in every outing, but he's been going deeper into games recently. He's gone at least 5 innings in every start, going all the way back to early May, and he's still allowed more than 3 earned runs only once in that span. So he is pitching fairly well right now. He's coming off a decent start at home against Seattle. 13-4 strikeout walk ratio this month is not exactly excellent, but it's not bad, really. His overall numbers here, his hit rate is still too high. So that's one thing he's got to kind of fix. He's probably putting too many pitches over the plate. That's a little bit of an issue, but his walk rate is not horrible, and his strikeout rate is actually good. So he has strikeout stuff. So I like that. Like, he actually does have good stuff. He has the ability to fool major league hitters with a strikeout rate like that, and he induces a lot of ground balls, so that's pretty good. So I do think he's under the radar. I think he's better than people think that he is, even though I don't like his whip. And Tampa Bay really hasn't seen much of him. They only have 2 hitters who have faced him, Mesa and Mullins, and the only hit is a double from Mesa. They're 1 for 6 combined with 3 strikeouts and no walks against him. So they have unfamiliarity here, which is an advantage to the pitcher usually, because the offense is going to have to figure him out, and the offense, might be a little bit thrown off by the return home spot and whatever. So I like Cavalli to actually pitch well here. And Tampa Bay is going with a bullpen game because they're going with Griffin Jax. He's got pretty similar numbers to Cavalli in that he's got a 3.68 ERA, 1.36 whip, which is too high. The problem with him is he's an older pitcher and he's basically a relief pitcher. So he's not this younger prospect like Cavalli pretty much is. Jax, he is pitching deeper into games. I'll give him that. He's basically made some full starts recently, and he's allowed no runs across his last 10 innings. I get that. Those are both on the road, interestingly enough. And yes, he does have a good strikeout walk ratio this month. Actually, fairly similar numbers to Cavalli this month. But Jax, I just don't trust him, man, because most of his numbers are coming out of the bullpen. He's got an all right hit rate, an all right walk rate, an all right strikeout rate. Pretty mediocre stuff here. He does induce some ground balls, which is good. Jax, by the way, I forgot to point out, he is worse at home. He has more significant splits, and he has a 4.86 home ERA. And those 2 good starts that he threw recently were both on the road. So I think we could fade him here. There's a possibility he doesn't go all 5 innings here, even though he did the last 2 games. They're limiting him to 60-something pitches, basically. So he was as efficient as he could have been, basically, to get through those 5 innings there. I don't know if his efficiency is going to be that good here. Washington does have some history against them. They have 10 at-bats across 5 hitters, and they have succeeded against them in that small sample. 300 batting average, 864 OPS, 4-1 strikeout walk ratio. So Washington has at least done some damage against them in a very small sample. Not much you can take away from that sample size, but I like the spot. I like the pitching matchup here. Washington will be a play here. Where are we looking here? It's interleague. Yeah, so the money looks like it agrees with me on this. You're getting Washington as an underdog if you play them in the first 5 or the full game, although it's a smaller underdog price on the first 5 because the odds makers know that Washington has their bigger advantage in the first 5, but you can still get them at plus money in the first 5, so that's what we're going to do. 68% of tickets on Tampa Bay, 59% of the cash on Washington. So the money is backing Washington here. The total's low at 8. So the odds makers are actually kind of expecting the offenses to be a little bit weak here. But the other good thing about Washington is, like I said, they're good on the road, but their offense is actually way better on the road. So that's good. And I don't know if I mentioned it. Did I mention it? Washington does have the better offense in general. They have the 5th ranked offense. Tampa Bay is 16th. And Washington's offense is way better on the road than it is at home. So there is all that coming into play here. So yes, Washington will be the play. The money, for what it's worth, is hitting the over in that game, but I don't really have a good feel for that. But Washington will be my side that I have here. Oh, it was a free bet where you had to play a side in that game? That's some bullshit. The value is probably with Australia there, but I wouldn't want either team, though. U.S. is the better team. Australia is not very good, but both teams are off of overperforming, so I don't know. I don't think I want any of that. Oh, it's Turkey against Paraguay? No, I don't like that. I think Turkey wins that. I do not agree with Paraguay there. Turkey is the better. I think Turkey is better, and Turkey, their first loss was total bullshit. There's no way they should have lost to Australia, and if you look at the stats, they played way better. I don't buy this pressure thing. Like, Turkey, they need to win. I guess Paraguay needs to win too, but Paraguay is not a good team. Turkey is definitely the better team, and they're going to be focused coming off an ugly, ugly loss to a team that they clearly should have beaten. So, yeah, I don't like that one. I don't. I like Turkey. All right. It's Thanksgiving, man. Milwaukee at Atlanta. This is going to be a good series over the weekend here, possibly the best, but because of Atlanta getting postponed yesterday, that means Martin Perez is getting the start here today, and he was going to pitch yesterday. So now we get a much less enticing pitching matchup. It was going to be Misiorowski against Chris Sale, and now it's Misiorowski against Perez, and I guess Sale's going to pitch tomorrow. Whatever, man. I mean, it would have been an awesome pitching matchup with the young guy against the old veteran who are both still dominating, you know what I mean? Or both dominating this year. Whatever. Atlanta was off yesterday because they got rained out. They're staying at home. They've lost 3 games in a row. This is a good spot for Atlanta to have a break, you know what I mean? Just get a rest, forget about it, try to break that losing momentum. So the situational spot, I think, does help Atlanta a little bit. Milwaukee is coming in from Cleveland, coming in from home, excuse me. They just lost to Cleveland yesterday. I liked Cleveland in the game yesterday. It's just that Cleveland, their offense is questionable, but their pitching was good enough to get them the win. Parker Messick. So Milwaukee's coming off of that. I think Milwaukee was overlooking Cleveland too. So I almost put Cleveland on my card yesterday. I mentioned that on the show. Milwaukee's starting a road trip here now, though, which is a positive spot. Usually you're focused to start the road trip. You know Milwaukee will show up focused for a game against Atlanta, and I don't necessarily want to fade Misiorowski. Usually I do not. Atlanta, though, they rested their bullpen yesterday. Milwaukee used 4 guys out of their bullpen. So Milwaukee is at a little bit of a bullpen disadvantage here. Both bullpens are good. Atlanta's number 1 by a significant gap in both WHIP and ERA. They're pitching at an elite level out of the bullpen there. Milwaukee is ranked 14th, but their bullpen ERA is better than that. I think Milwaukee is like close to a top 10 bullpen, but the Braves have the edge there. Braves, number 6 in offense. Milwaukee tied in 7th. So these are offenses that both can hit. Atlanta not quite as good at home, though, and they have to go up against Misiorowski, like I said, who is absolutely shredding everybody right now. He's got a 1.34 ERA, 0.74 WHIP. He's probably the best pitcher in baseball right now. I'm assuming he's the favorite to win the NL Cy Young as well. He's got a 1.01 road ERA. His strikeout rate is absolutely absurd. He's coming off a 9-inning, a complete game shutout, 1-hitter against Philly with 15 strikeouts and no walks, and he still didn't even throw 100 pitches in that game. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. Now, does that mean he's going to be in a letdown spot after that? Maybe, because that start was so good, but he's pitching excellent anyway, regardless. He's allowed 1 run since the beginning of May. 1 run in whatever this is, in 54 innings pitched, I think is what that is. Absolutely insane. He's got the highest strikeout rate in baseball. What is the strikeout rate per 9 innings? It's like, I can't do the math, just that quickly in my head like that. But what is it? That's like 13 strikeouts per 9 innings or something like that is what he's doing. Absolutely ridiculous. Extremely low hit rate too. His walk rate's not really that high either. All of his numbers are really good. He'll be going up against Atlanta. Atlanta has also never faced him before, so Misiorowski has a little bit of an advantage there too, and that Atlanta has to figure him out on the fly because they haven't faced him before. So do I think he's going to pitch poorly? No, I don't. Martin Perez is going for the Braves, the old man here who does not have strikeout stuff, but Perez has had an effective season so far. 2.9 ERA, 1.05 WHIP. Those are good numbers. Good at home, 1.67 home ERA. Can he actually duel Misiorowski here? I don't know. I'm not so sure about that. Perez, he's been good throughout the season, but of course, he's an old guy. He's kind of a junk pitcher. He doesn't fool guys. He's allowed few hits, though, because he's locating his pitches well, and guys are hitting it to soft contact. That's what he's doing. He's allowed very few hits. His walk rate is not great, and his strikeout rate is pretty low. Against Milwaukee, what are we looking at here? His numbers are not good against Milwaukee. 77 at-bats, 299 average allowed, 962 OPS, 14-8 strikeout walk ratio. So I do not love Perez here. Milwaukee does have an edge as far as the pitching here, a pretty big starting pitching edge. But Atlanta does have a rest advantage and a travel advantage and a bullpen advantage. So what do we do with this game? I don't know, man. I'm staying off of it. Milwaukee is a public side, 86% of tickets, 85% of the cash on them. Obviously, everybody knows how good Miz is at this point. You're having to lay a price for that. You're laying minus 160 something, which is kind of crazy to lay a price like that with any team on the road against the Braves when the Braves have one of the best records in baseball, and you're getting them as that heavy of an underdog price at home. You will not see the Braves that heavy of an underdog at home ever again, probably this season or whenever. So from a value perspective, it does make sense to maybe take a shot with the Braves here. The total is low at 7.5, so the odds makers are expecting not a lot of runs here. So the Braves might be hanging around in the game, and if it's close, maybe they can get the game late. I would not want to bank on it, though. Milwaukee does clearly have a starting pitching edge here, and even that might be enough to get them the win here, so I don't really want to do it. But yes, I think there probably is value in the number, at least, looking towards Atlanta here. The money's also backing the over. 52% of tickets, 73% of the cash on the over. I don't know if I love that. I mean, the total's low for a reason, of course. Perez does have better matchup numbers. Perez has worse matchup numbers, and I don't fully trust him. I mean, it's not a game I want to get involved in. The value is on the Atlanta side, I would say, in that game, as weird as that sounds. And, yeah, that's basically what I have to say about it. The total, I would still lean under in that game. Most things line up more towards the under there. Like two good bullpens, although Milwaukee's is not totally rested. One good starter and one starter who is pitching pretty well. And, and one of the bullpens is completely rested, so I don't know. That's what I think about the game. Mizurowski, there are going to be some spots to potentially fade him. This might be one of those spots because he's coming off one of his best outings of his career. A complete game one-hitter. I mean, that's the first time he's done that, I'm pretty sure. So when you do that, maybe there is a little bit of a letdown component to it, although he probably gets up for this game. I think he would be more pumped to pitch against Chris Sale, though. I don't think he's going to be as excited to pitch against Martin Perez. Next game up is my last play of the day, so these plays, it's just what it is, man. The last couple of days, I had late plays. Today, I do not really. I don't have anything in the later games. You already know what this is because I told you this is a total, and it's a game in Texas, so obviously this is an under. San Diego and Texas. I looked at this matchup, and I'm just like, San Diego and Texas, this looks like it's going to be a very under-conducive series. You have two weak offenses. Texas is the most under-conducive ballpark. Texas doesn't allow many runs here. They don't score many runs here. Neither offense scores many runs. Both teams have really good bullpens. So I'm like, yeah, this game, this series looks like an under. But, of course, I had to gauge this specific game as far as whether or not it's an under, and I say that it is. I found the 7.5 at the book that starts with a B that is also a gym. I don't know if you can find a number that's quite that good out there, but I had to pay, minus 121 for it. I would still go under 7 with this probably, though. The 7.5 is better, so I'd be looking for the 7.5, even upwards of minus 125 maybe to try to get that hook on the 7, but I would still probably go under 7 here. 7 being the key number, though. At least if it lands exactly 7, it'll push for you if you do it that way. Texas did play yesterday, so they don't have a rested bullpen here, but they got blown out. They did really badly in that series against Minnesota. Speaking of unders, Minnesota was hitting against Texas, but I think it's unlikely that San Diego is going to be able to do the same here. And Texas did not score in that series. Texas scored 7 total runs in 3 games in that series. So that part of the equation still looks good for an under here. Could be a bounce back spot for Texas. I mean, you don't want to get swept at home. Texas is a better team than that, but their offense is not the reason why they're a decent team. It's their pitch. Their pitching is what makes them decent. Texas used 4 relief pitchers yesterday, but it was a blowout, so their better relievers are mostly still available here. So Texas still has some of their high leverage arms available, and San Diego rested yesterday. So San Diego has their full bullpen available here. San Diego just won against St. Louis. They're traveling in from St. Louis. Not a horrible travel spot for them, but it is the third series of their road trip here. So a pretty extended road trip for San Diego. where maybe the offense is getting a little bit tired here, whatever. Although, like I said, with the day off, the offense can cool off a little bit too, but their offense hasn't been good anyway. San Diego, again, they didn't use anybody yesterday because they were rested. San Diego's bullpen is basically elite. They have the second best bullpen ERA. Even though they're ranked 7th in whip, they're one of the best bullpens. Texas is ranked 8th in bullpen. They're one of the better bullpens as well. So we have 2 good bullpens here. Offenses are not good. Texas is number 24. They're worse than that at home. They're one of the absolute worst at home. And San Diego's 30th, dead last in offense. So they have not come around either. And the starting pitching, we have one really trustworthy starting pitcher and one starting pitcher who the advanced analytics guys keep saying is going to fall off, Randy Vasquez. But I think this is a good matchup that he gets to draw here in this one. So I think he will pitch okay enough here. I know we played on him a few times and maybe gotten a little bit lucky in some of those cases. And I think we lost at least one of them. But I don't think he's that bad. He's got a 3.63 ERA. His whip is too high. I'll give you that. 1.32 whip. Not great. But he is way better on the road. I don't know why. Because San Diego has one of the most pitcher-friendly parks that there is, but he has a 2.08 road ERA and an ERA almost 5 at home. I'm not going to question it as far as this is concerned right now. He's better on the road, so I think it's a good matchup for him for that reason. He's going to pitch on the road where he's better, and it is a pitcher-friendly park. Vasquez, I mean, he's been okay recently, but he is still walking too many guys. He is putting too many guys on base. He's given up too many hits recently, but most of that was in one home start against the Mets. So if you take that game out of the equation, his numbers in his 2 road starts this month look a little bit better. 5-inning outings against Baltimore and Philly, holding each of them to 2 earned runs. And he had a combined 8-3 strikeout walk ratio in those 10 innings. That's not horrible. So he is better on the road. He's been better in his recent road starts as well. Overall numbers, his hit rate's not great. I mean, I know his walk rate's not great either, really. Strikeout rate is low, so I know those numbers don't look great here, but he's in the better of his home road splits. He's not a terrible pitcher, and Texas has not succeeded against him. Texas has 26 at-bats against him, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, 115 batting average, 448 OPS, although 2 of their 3 hits are extra base hits, but that's a double from Berger, and that's his only hit in 5 at-bats. And Peterson has a home run off him, but only has 2 hits off him. So, and those are, in fact, the only 3 hits that the entire Texas offense has against him. So Vasquez has good numbers against them, and he's the more worrisome part of this because I think we don't have to worry about Jacob deGrom backing him here at home. deGrom, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but he's been good this year as well. 3.17 ERA. 0.99 whip, and he's been really good at home, 1.26 home ERA, so he's in the way better home road split too. So we're getting the advantage of both pitchers' home road splits here, which is good. deGrom has only allowed 2 runs this month. They were both on the road at Fenway Park, and he still pitched well in that game. The Red Sox wound up winning the game, but deGrom was pretty good in that game. He's got a 19-3 strikeout walk ratio this month in 17 innings, only 13 hits allowed. Not bad stuff here. Overall numbers, low hit rate, low walk rate, high strikeout rate. Everything looks good from him except that he's a little bit fly ball heavy, but in this ballpark, that's less of a concern. And as I showed you, he's been pitching really well at home. deGrom going up against San Diego shouldn't be an issue for him here. They don't really have a ton of guys that have faced him. Manny Machado is the guy that's faced him by far the most, and he's done okay against him, 6 for 23, but their entire lineup is only 8 for 38 off, and they only have 4 guys who have faced him, 38 at-bats, 13 strikeouts, 2 walks. Even Machado has struck out a lot against him. Overall, 211 average, 513 OPS. Machado has been in the American League, and that's why he has that much experience against him, but deGrom overall, he has done well against the 4 guys in this lineup that have faced him before, and the rest of the lineup has never even seen him before. So deGrom actually has a little bit of unfamiliarity against some of these San Diego hitters too. I think it lines up for him to pitch well here. Under is the play for me here in this game. It may not be the only under we're going to play in this series, but it remains to be seen. I haven't looked at the pitching matchups yet in the other games in the series, but I like this. The money is a little bit backing, like slightly backing the over here. 82% of the tickets, 88% of the cash on the over. I don't know what to make of that. I don't love that, but it looks like it is maybe a public over, although that doesn't really make sense to me either. I don't think the public is running to the window to play this particular game over. You know what I mean? Like, the public is going to be playing overs in the games that have the more public offenses. You know what I mean? The offenses they know are good. So I don't know about that, but the total's 7. Like I said, it's low for a reason here. So that's what we're doing. Under. I found a pretty good number out there on it at that one book that might not even allow me to place bets anymore in some cases. There you go. What are we talking about? Mizurowski will not throw a no-hitter. I'll pretty much guarantee that. Green Mountain Girl, what's up? You're from Vermont, I assume that means. I do not work at Fenway. No, why? Do you recognize? Do I look like somebody? I might look like somebody that works at Fenway. A lot of people, I'm at Fenway occasionally because I go to Red Sox games and stuff and concerts, but no. I think you're probably thinking of somebody else, but thanks for checking out the show. I appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully the Red Sox can stop sucking at some point. But no, one of my friends actually worked at Fenway. Back when I was in high school, I had a friend, Pat, who worked at Fenway, and I would go up to his concession stand. I knew where he worked. It was on the first base side, kind of. I'd go up there, and Pat, you know the drill. Free hot dog? Yeah. Get the connections there to get a free hot dog when you go to a game. There you go. Sometimes you can get a free hot dog anyway, though. Like the last time I was at Fenway, I was out in the bleachers, and one of the concession guys towards the end of the game was like, I'm not going to be able to sell all the rest of these hot dogs, man. Just take some. I was like, you don't have to ask me twice. All right, you're going to give me some free dogs. All right. Fenway Franks, man, I mean, they're pretty decent, but they're like... What are they? They're like $9 now, probably, maybe even more than that, $10. Erica's sweet. I don't know who Erica is. Brandon resembled me. I don't know who Brandon or Erica are, but shout out to all of them, I guess. No, I mean, yeah, that was not me, but if Brandon looks like me, then that's unfortunate for him. I will say that. This is a Red Sox hat, by the way. Here you go. I have it backwards because we're in, what's the word I'm looking for? We're in like SOS mode here. We're in Mayday mode here with the Red Sox. So the Jimmy Fund Clinic. Okay, well, it's a good cause. Working with the cancer children there. I have donated to the Jimmy Fund in the past. I had a Red Sox Jimmy Fund plate on my old vehicle, but I have not gotten a new one since I got my new vehicle, so I don't know. You can DM me if you want, Green Mountain Girl. We can chat if you want. But no, I haven't been to Fenway for a bit now. I think the last time I was there was probably for a concert, maybe. I don't know. I've been in and around that area, though. I'm around. But I've not gone to a Red Sox game this year, which is probably better for my health. Although I usually get out to like 1 or 2 every year. You paid minus 145. Don't pay minus 145 for the under 7.5. Just go under 7. That is way too much of a price to do that. I would say the cutoff is like minus 125. All right, Cleveland and Houston is the next game here. Houston is staying at home here. I believe they were off yesterday. They just won a series against Detroit. Staying at home. Cleveland played yesterday, so they're at a rest disadvantage. They beat Milwaukee. So Cleveland a little bit of a disadvantage here. Possible letdown, I guess, off of the Milwaukee win. Cleveland, remember, they got a bunch of offensive injuries right now. Jose Ramirez has a broken hand, so I don't know when he's going to be back. And Chase DeLauder is out, and then Angel Martinez, I believe is his name. So those guys, I think, bat 1, 2, and 3 in their order, and they're all out. And the bottom of Cleveland's order is not good. So this is not a good Cleveland offense here, especially with those guys out. Cleveland is a decent bullpen, but they used 4 guys out of the bullpen yesterday while Houston rested. So that kind of negates their bullpen edge a little bit. Cleveland is still 12th in bullpen. They're still the better bullpen here. Houston is up to 22nd, though, so Houston is not one of the absolute worst bullpens anymore. They've been better recently. So I think the bullpens are a little bit close closely matched here. I think Cleveland still probably does have a slight edge in that department, though. They certainly do not have the better offense, though. Houston is tied in 11th with the Giants, although I think Houston is better than the Giants. The bullpen, or excuse me, the hitting for Cleveland is bad. They're at 27th, tied with the Phillies currently. Cleveland does have the better starter pitching, though. They have Tanner Bybee pitching. He's been good. 3.96 ERA, 1.18 whip. Don't let his bad record fool you. This is why, like, weighing records as far as, like, who makes the all-star team and whatever, it's stupid, because if you get no run support, like Bybee, you're pitching pretty well, your team has a bad offense and gives you no run support, what can you do? Like, you don't really have that much control over what your record is. Bybee hasn't been as good on the road, though. 4.54 road ERA. He is pitching well recently, though. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in 3 straight outings. He's been better this month, too. He's gone 7+ innings in both outings. He's only allowed 5 hits in 15 innings here. Facing Texas and Detroit, though, those are some weak offenses, and the Red Sox prior to that. 11-4 strikeout walk ratio this month, so his strikeout rate is not really that good right now. On the course of the season, his strikeout rate is a little bit low for what you usually get out of him. His hit rate is good, though. It's pretty low. Walk rate is fairly low as well. Home run rate is too high, though. He's allowed too many homers, but I don't know if we should weigh that heavily here, though. Although Houston, they don't exactly play in a pitcher-friendly ballpark, though. Bybee against Houston does not have very good numbers. 68 at bats, 279 average, 849 OPS allowed, 13-4 strikeout walk ratio. So I don't know if I would trust Bybee here. It's one of those situations where there are conflicting factors here. Like, he's in good form right now, but he faced weak offenses. He's worse on the road. He's not good against Houston. So I might lean more against Bybee in this game. I think there are more negatives than positives here. Houston is going with Tatsuya Imai, who has not been good in his first season in the majors. 6.43 ERA, 1.51 whip. That is not going to get it done. He's been bad at home, 7.13 home ERA. That is not good at all. He got totally blown up last time out against Kansas City. Lasted 2/3 of an inning. 5 runs allowed. That's not going to do it either. He was okay in his few starts prior to that, though, so it looked like he was turning a corner and pitching better, and he faced a couple of good offenses in there, but man, he had a setback last time against Kansas City. They're not a good offense, although they do hit better at home. I don't know, man. I still don't trust Imai, but he does draw a weak offense here in Cleveland, and Cleveland has never faced him before, so he does have that advantage. They have to figure him out on the fly, and they're an injured offense too. I don't want to try to figure out this game, though. Cleveland has the money coming in towards them, 50-50 on the tickets, 95% of the cash on Cleveland. They're a slight underdog. -120 is the price on Houston, basically. Houston, I don't know, man. I mean, generally, I would say Bybee is the better starter here. But, of course, Cleveland has a rest disadvantage here. I think Cleveland does still have the better bullpen. You got to try to weigh all of Bybee's different numbers here. You got to try to figure out what Imai is going to do here. There's so much that could go in various ways in this game. This is a very unpredictable game. The total's at 8.5, and the money is backing the under for whatever that's worth in that game. I don't know, man. That game is definitely a stay away, though, for me. St. Louis at Kansas City on Apple TV. We had this game right yesterday with Kansas City in the first 5. Kansas City won the full game as well in a ridiculously high-scoring game, 14-6. I don't think this game's going to be as high-scoring as that, but Kansas City does score more at home. Like I said, the walls have been moved in this stadium. Kansas City does not have a good bullpen. They used only 2 guys out of the bullpen yesterday, though. St. Louis used 3. St. Louis does still have the better bullpen, though. None of the better bullpen arms came into that game because it was a complete blowout. St. Louis is ranked 20th, which isn't exactly great. Kansas City is 28th, and their metrics are worse basically all across the board there. So St. Louis does have the better bullpen. St. Louis is 14th in offense. Kansas City is all the way up to 17th just because they scored 14 runs last night. They moved all the way up from like 23rd. I still don't think Kansas City's that good. These outliers early-ish in the season move these offenses all over the place in these standings. I think St. Louis is still the better offense. St. Louis may have a starting pitching edge, too, with Michael McGreevy pitching. He's having a good season, even though he's not a strikeout pitcher. He's got good numbers, 2.99 ERA, 1.11 whip. Not as good on the road, 3.76 road ERA, which still isn't that bad, though. He's been pitching well for most of the season, really. He's allowed more than 3 earned runs in only one start this entire season, which was on the road against Milwaukee. Kansas City is not Milwaukee, though. He's allowed few hits here, low hit rate, pretty low walk rate here, too. Strikeout rate is low, though. He doesn't strike guys out, like I said, so you can see that going two ways, right? Like, he doesn't have the ability to fool hitters because he doesn't strike guys out, but he is still pitching effectively. So that kind of means that he kind of gets overlooked in the betting market and stuff and overlooked by the public. So sometimes you do want to play on pitchers like this. Kansas City basically has never faced him. Only Starling Marte has ever faced him. He's 0 for 1 against him. No strikeouts, no walks. So McGreevy has an unfamiliarity edge here against Kansas City as well. Kind of surprised they haven't seen him at all yet because these teams play each other like twice every year because they're rivals, geographic rivals. Seth Lugo is making his return for Kansas City. If you guys saw his last start, very scary scenario. He took a line drive off of his head in his previous game. It did not look good. He went into concussion protocol, but he only went on the 7-day injured list, and he pitched 9 days ago. That was on the 10th when that happened against Texas. He was pitching okay in that game before that happened. The question now is he ready to go again, or is he going to be, like, scared? You know what I mean? You never really know how a pitcher is going to react to that. Like, is he going to be a little bit more timid out there? I mean, I kind of think that he won't be because Lugo's been around forever. He's 36 years old. You know, he's a very experienced pitcher, so I don't think he's going to be intimidated going back out there. But you do have to worry just about his numbers in general. 3.86 ERA, 1.35 whip is not great. So the ERA is pretty good. The whip, not really so much. He is off schedule now as well, and sometimes these pitchers don't do as well when they're off schedule. Lugo has not been as good at home either, 4.06 home ERA, so he's slightly worse at home, probably because they moved the walls in. And against St. Louis, he's not good, although they only have 4 hitters who have faced him, but they're 4 for 8 against him with some power in here. A double from Burleson, a home run from Vasquez, 1 strikeout, no walks, 500 average is what that is. Obviously, you can do that math. 1,500 OPS against. Very small sample. You don't want to read too much into that, but it doesn't look great for Lugo here. The team might rally around him, though. That's the other thing. Like, after that scary moment for Lugo in his previous start, now that he's back, like, the team, you know, might rally around him, like, you know, and try to, like, throw support behind him, you know what I mean, after something like that happens. So it might be a positive for him there. I don't want to play the game. I think I do lean to St. Louis here, though, especially after they did get embarrassed yesterday. The money's totally disagreeing, though. 63% of the tickets on St. Louis, 90% of the cash on Kansas City. I don't know what the deal is with that. St. Louis is around minus 120 here on the money line. They're a road favorite here. Could be in bounce back mode, like I said. Money is also playing the over here. I don't know if I see that. If you go over, you should go full game with it, though, and take advantage of the somewhat weak bullpens. Kansas City, definitely a weak bullpen. Total's at 9, so it is fairly high. I think a first 5 under makes some sense in this game, though, based on what the starting pitching matchup is and given the situation and whatever. Wouldn't really want to risk it, though, on it, but I do think I lean towards St. Louis. I think you have the better matchup numbers. I think McGreevy might be the better starter here as well, and I think you probably get a bullpen advantage with St. Louis, too, plus the bounce back, so I think that's the way I lean. All right, I'm going to be right back, but I have no more plays to give out. I am going to break down all the rest of these games, though. So I will be right back in a second. I apologize for all my post-cold bullshit that's going on here. You got to listen to all my sniffles. Maybe I'm on cocaine. That sounds cooler. I'll be right back. All right. Also, for Green Mountain Girl, those are some nice digs there. The being in a suite for a game, that's pretty solid. I've been in those suites before. I know I've definitely been in them for a couple of concerts. I think maybe for games as well. I don't know. I've been in and around and all over. I've been to a lot of events. All right, but the suites, they have their own bar inside the suite, so you don't have to wait in line to get your alcohol. Although I'm a sober man now. Pittsburgh at Colorado. This series, I don't know, man. Colorado's returning home from a road trip, so as I always point out, that's a negative spot, returning home from the road. They went to the A's and Chicago. They played the A's, I believe that was in Vegas, I want to say. Either way, it's a return home spot. So negative spot, team returning home, have to get back to home life, whatever. Not necessarily going to overlook Pittsburgh, though. They're one of the better teams. They're one of the teams that's improved the most this year. Pittsburgh is coming off a couple of nice wins against the A's here. We had a win in the last game in that series here on the show. Pittsburgh was off yesterday. Both teams were off yesterday, I believe. So the bullpens are rested, but these are not good bullpens. Pittsburgh, number 21. Colorado, atrocious, number 27. Almost tied for the worst ERA here with the Twins. They are a bad bullpen. They're debatably the worst. So Pittsburgh does have the better bullpen, but I wouldn't trust either bullpen, really, even though they are rested. Colorado is 9th in offense, but skewed, I think, a bit because of some offensive explosions recently. But they are playing at Coors Field here. Pittsburgh is number 4 in offense, which is more of a legit number there. These pitchers, I don't know. It looks like there could be some runs here. Bubba Chandler is pitching for Pittsburgh. I just don't know what to think about him right now because he has good stuff. Like, you look at his underlying metrics, he's good. He's still young, but he's so wild. He hasn't been able to get his command under control yet. All of those. Yeah, that's a very redundant statement, but whatever. Chandler 4.76 ERA, 1.38 WHIP, not great. Better on the road, 4.38 road ERA, but now you have to gauge how is he going to do in Coors Field. Did he pitch there last year, I guess is one thing to answer. Let me see. He did not. He pitched against Colorado at home once last year, and he was good in that start, but whatever. Coors Field, we don't have any metrics for him yet. Now, Chandler is pitching a little bit better in his recent starts here this month, 16-5 strikeout walk ratio, only 10 hits allowed in 16 innings. So his walk rate has actually gone down recently. His strikeout rate is decent, hit rate decent as well. Faced Houston and Atlanta on the road in there, and those are good offenses. So he is pitching better recently. So he does seem to kind of be coming into form a little bit here. He's got a low hit rate on the season, pretty good strikeout rate, right at 9 per 9. And 41 walks in 68 innings. So that is the problem. Again, way too many walks. But again, that number has gone down recently. So he is pitching a little bit better, and I think he has the ability to pitch really well. It's just still kind of a question mark. Like, what is he going to do in Coors Field is the other thing. Is he a fly ball pitcher? Yes, he is. So that doesn't play well in Coors Field. He hasn't allowed that many home runs this year, but it's not great being a fly ball pitcher and having to go into Coors. That's not great. Rockies, though, they only have 4 at-bats against them across 4 hitters, and they haven't done anything against them. No hits, no guys have reached base, it looks like, no strikeouts and no walks. So Chandler might have a decent matchup here, but I don't like the location, really, and I still don't fully trust him right now. But he is starting to pitch better, so there is that. But there are just conflicting factors here with him. For Kyle Freeland, pitching for the Rockies, it's mostly negative with him. 7.98 ERA, 1.7 WHIP. These are bad numbers. Chandler is clearly the pitcher with way more upside here out of the two. Freeland is also way deeper into his career. Freeland is a little bit better at home. 7.5 home ERA. Still really bad. I don't know how he pitches worse on the road, but whatever. He's had decent command this month. Like, he's not walking anybody, but he puts every pitch over the plate, it looks like. Like, he just gives up way too many hits, even though his walk rate is pretty low. His hit rate is insanely high. He's given up too many home runs as well. Strikeout rate low. He's more of a fly ball pitcher as well, so that doesn't play well in Coors Field, even though the Rockies have him on their team and have for a while. None of that looks very good here. I would not want to back Freeland. Highly unlikely that I ever will be in a situation where I do. His numbers against Pittsburgh, though, are actually pretty good. In 40 at-bats, they have 6 guys who have faced him. 8-2 strikeout walk ratio, 225 average, 712 OPS. So his numbers against the Pirates are actually good, but do you really trust him here? I wouldn't. There is the potential that both pitchers do okay here, but I'd kind of lean against it. The total in this game is 11.5, I think, but of course it has to be somewhat high because it's Coors Field. The money is pretty significantly backing the over. 52% of tickets, 93% of the cash on the over. I don't really disagree with the over. It's just, I think you have more things leaning towards an over than an under. You have Chandler, who's at least questionable. Freeland is bad. I don't really put that much weight into his matchup numbers, really. Both bullpens are bad, so I think there are more factors indicating on an over than an under here. And Pittsburgh is getting the money. 79% of tickets, 86% of the cash on them. They're in the minus 130s up to minus 140 range, basically. Of course, you're going to have to pay a price with anybody who's facing Colorado here. I probably agree Pittsburgh is the better team. Colorado's returning home from the road, so the spot helps Pittsburgh a little bit here. They should have the matchup edge throughout the game. I wouldn't want to bank on it, but I will agree with Pittsburgh slightly. Anaheim at the A's. One thing I forgot to mention in that handicap yesterday, we won with the A's yesterday in the first 5. As long as you did what I recommended, and I recommended picking Jump must start for the A's, but not picking Soriano must start because he was injured, so it seemed like he might potentially not start, although it looked like he was going to. And I liked the handicap anyway. But with the Angels going with like a spot start or a bullpen game, like that made it easier for the A's to get that win. And we were sitting on a good price there, so I like that. Now, one thing I didn't mention, though, that I was about to say, Anaheim gives up a lot of runs on the road, dude. As a team, Anaheim, I did mention their road record is bad, but they are not a good team to back on the road, except that Soriano is better on the road generally, but I countered that with my handicap yesterday because I thought he was going to pitch yesterday. Now, as far as the bullpens, these are both unbackable bullpens. The A's did use only 2 guys out of their bullpen yesterday, and so did Anaheim, but these are not good bullpens. Anaheim is 26th, the A's 23rd. Nothing good about this. The A's ERA is actually worse, although I think they're probably the slightly better bullpen, but they're both bad. The A's are a good offense. They're ranked 3rd right now. Anaheim 17th, tied with the Royals. I think both of them might be a little bit overrated at 17th, though. I pointed out the Royals only up there because they scored a ton of runs yesterday. Now, Jose Soriano's pitching. I talked about him yesterday. He's got a 2.79 ERA, 1.23 whip. Good numbers for sure, and he's good on the road. 2.32 road ERA. He was better on the road last year as well. So you do want to back him when he's on the road, but I don't think you want to back him in the A's stadium. As I pointed out, he pitched in this stadium twice last year. The most recent time was in August. He got pretty lit up in that one. Gave up 5 earned runs on 8 hits, in 5 2/3. Gave up 3 home runs in the game. Had a 5-1 strikeout walk ratio, which is the only good thing about it. And then the previous time he played in the stadium was in May last year, and he did hold them to 3 earned runs in 6 innings on 6 hits, but he walked 4 guys along with 4 strikeouts. So he was inducing a lot of ground balls, so that's good. He is a ground ball pitcher, so that does help him in the stadium, but his overall numbers in the stadium are not good. And as I showed you yesterday, and I'll show you again in a second, his numbers are not good against the A's either. Now, his overall ground ball rate is good. He's more of a ground ball pitcher, so that does help in the stadium. Like I said, he doesn't allow that many hits. His walk rate is way too high, though, this season, and his strikeout rate is good. His walk rate has gone up again, and he's got a 14-11 strikeout walk ratio this month. That's not good, even though his most recent start was a 5-inning shutout against Tampa. He's not exactly in the greatest form right now. And these were points that I made yesterday, and he's not good against the A's. And 94 at bats, 277 average allowed, 836 OPS, 25 to 10 strikeout walk ratio. None of those numbers are very good. Too many walks there, too. So I do not like Soriano here. Jeffrey Springs is pitching for the A's. Springs hasn't really been that good either. He did have decent numbers this season for a while. I think he's better than his numbers suggest, but he does struggle in this stadium. 5.13 ERA, 1.32 whip, not very good. Bad at home, like I said, 5.76 ERA in this stadium. He's an extreme fly ball pitcher, and he's allowed a ton of home runs, so that is a huge problem. You can't pitch like that in this stadium, man. So he does not line up to pitch well in this stadium. He's got kind of a high hit rate this season, too. His walk rate isn't too high, but the rest of these numbers are ugly. His strikeout rate is low as well. He's been really bad this month, an ERA of over 10 this month. He's allowed almost 2 hits per inning this month. That is just not going to cut it. That is awful with 2 home starts as well. 11 to 3 strikeout walk ratio is good, but he's obviously just way too hittable. He's also allowed 7 home runs this month in those 3 starts. That is really bad. It's almost approaching 1 home run allowed an inning. And his numbers against Anaheim are not good either. In 26 at-bats, 346 average allowed, 1,024 OPS, 7-1 strikeout walk ratio is the only good thing about these numbers. Anaheim does only have 6 guys who have faced him, but those are not good numbers. It looks like an over to me in this game. This is probably one of the ones that I like a little bit better than the rest. I don't think I really want to do it, but I like the over here. If this live odds hover thing would go away, we could actually see what this looks like here. That's not what I wanted to do, no. The money's actually backing the... No, it is backing the over. It looks like we have 64% of tickets on the under and 53% of the cash on the under. Total's at 10. That's kind of a reasonable total for this game, really. Money is also backing Anaheim, which somewhat makes sense because Soriano has the better home road splits. He is the better pitcher, but I think both bullpens, both pitchers, this lines up to be an over. 76% of tickets are on the A's, 78% of the cash on Anaheim. This one, I'm considering adding it, man. Hold on, because I was fading Soriano yesterday with a play, and it just didn't actually happen. Let me look at what this looks like here. I'm looking on Action Network here. Yeah, the money, according to them, does look like it's backing the over. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like it's mostly 10s across the board. One book does have a 9.5 at minus 125, but you don't get that key number of 9, though. You still have to play over the key number of 9, so there's not a huge difference between 9.5 and 10. Should we do it? I don't know, man. I'm back and forth on this one. Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Whatever. Let's add another play here. We'll have 4 plays today on a Friday. A Friday foursome here. Or no, 3 plays. Sorry, 3 plays. I don't have anything in the other sports today. All right, we'll do LAA and the A's over 10. I found it at minus 105 out there. Hang on. Yeah, whatever. Let's do it. Let's go over in that game. All right, even though yesterday's game went under, actually, so maybe that'll help. Maybe the A's, maybe Anaheim will break out their bats finally. You know, it's not the, or excuse me, maybe the Angels, the Angels. It's not really the Angels' offense that I'm that worried about here. I think they will get some runs in this game. What I'm more, Anaheim's pitching is bad on the road, so that does help us here. Although I know Soriano generally isn't. All right, Minnesota at Arizona on Apple TV. This episode is taking way too long, but we don't have too much WNBA and whatever. Arizona just won their series against Anaheim. They're staying at home. They had yesterday off, and Minnesota is traveling and played yesterday. So Minnesota has a rest and travel disadvantage here. So that's not great for Minnesota, and they're coming off a sweep of Texas. They've won 4 games in a row. Only traveling from Texas to Arizona, though, which isn't really too bad. Minnesota does have a bad bullpen, though, and they use 5 guys out of the bullpen yesterday while Arizona rested. So Arizona has a clear bullpen advantage here. They're ranked 5th in bullpen, even though still I continue to say their ERA is not really that good. But they're definitely better than Minnesota as the worst bullpen ERA. And they're ranked 2nd to last in WHIP. They might be the worst bullpen. So big bullpen advantage to Arizona here. Hitting-wise, Minnesota's been the better team. They're ranked 13th. Arizona's all the way down at 26th. So Minnesota does have that advantage, but it looks like most other advantages go to Arizona here. Minnesota's going with Connor Prelip. He's hard to predict, dude, because he is young and he does have some talent and some strikeout ability, but he's had some issues recently, and he's got a 5.26 ERA and 1.35 WHIP, which isn't great. He's been really bad on the road, 7.27 road ERA. That's not good. But he's pitched a little bit better again recently, although he failed to go 5 innings in one of these starts here against Kansas City. But I don't know what happened in that start. It looks like it was shortened. He didn't go his full amount of pitches there, so I don't know what that really was. But he does have a 16-5 strikeout walk ratio this month, which is not bad, in 16 and third innings. So his command looks pretty good right now. But he's allowed 17 hits, so he's been a little bit hittable here. Over the course of the season, he hasn't been too hittable. His walk rate is the one huge problem here. His strikeout rate is good. It's high, but the walk rate is high, and that's his main issue. But again, it's gotten a little bit better again recently. So Prelip is pitching a little bit better again recently. And Arizona, as you're going to know, they have never faced him before. So Prelip does have a little bit of an advantage here in that Arizona's never faced him before. So I don't really necessarily want to fade him here. But I think Michael Soroka, Garrett, wherever you are, he is the better pitcher in this matchup. He's pitching for Arizona here. He's having a good season. 3.11 ERA, 1.07 WHIP, 2.09 home ERA. So he's been really good at home. He's been good recently, too. 19-3 strikeout walk ratio, and only 11 hits allowed in 20 innings this month. That's all really good. He's allowed more than 2 earned runs only 3 times this season, more than 4 only once in a start where he got blown up at Milwaukee. He's been quite good for most of the season, though. His strikeout rate is all right. It's like right around 9 per 9. He's got a low walk rate and a low hit rate, so his numbers are good on the season. Does he do well against Minnesota? Hold on. The answer to that is yes, although they only have 17 at-bats against him. 6 hitters have faced him. 1 extra base hit, a double from Buxton. They have 5 strikeouts, no walks, 235 average, 529 OPS. So I think Soroka does have the edge here, but you are paying for it. So I think there's a situational edge here. There's a rest edge, travel edge, plus the better starting pitcher on the mound, plus the bullpen edge for Arizona. So they do have a lot of things going for them here. So I lean Arizona in this game. Money seems to slightly agree, but they are very public, which worries me a little bit too. 80% of tickets, 81% of the cash on Arizona. You're going to have to make your own -1 run line on this if you want to play Arizona. That is probably the way I would play this game if I was going to do it. They're around the -160-something money line range here. I would make my own -1 run line if I was going to do that. I don't quite want to do it. I mean, Prelip is a wild card. He could potentially pitch well here. A first 5 under makes some sense here. The money is hitting the over in the full game pretty strongly. 8.5 is the total there. But both pitchers might actually do okay here, so there might be less scoring at the beginning of the game. But I would not want to trust Minnesota's bullpen. Baltimore at the Dodgers. I believe the Dodgers have a rest advantage. I think the Dodgers didn't play yesterday while Baltimore did. The Dodgers are staying at home, too, so the Dodgers have a pretty big advantage here in the scheduling. Baltimore is having to travel from Seattle. I thought they were having to travel cross-country. That would be ridiculous. But no, they're not. They're already on the Pacific Coast. They're in Seattle. That's right. But Baltimore did play yesterday, so the Dodgers do have a rest edge. Baltimore is still having to travel down from Seattle, but they are already adjusted to the time zone here. Still an advantage for the Dodgers. They are the better team, too, and the better bullpen. Baltimore only used 1 guy out of the bullpen, though, so Baltimore has had really light bullpen usage recently, so that will help their bullpen a little bit. Dodgers are still ranked 6th in bullpen, though, although their ERA is a little bit worse than that, but they're still a decent bullpen. Baltimore's is worse at 16th, but their ERA kind of indicates they should be a little bit ranked worse than that, or ranked a little bit worse than that. Dodgers are still the number 1 offense. Baltimore is 15th. So the Dodgers do have advantages in those departments, and I think they have the starting pitching edge too. So I think the Dodgers have the edge in every phase of this game. The problem is the price. You know you're going to have to pay a big price on the Dodgers. Baltimore's going with Trey Gibson, who's a very young pitcher. I think we still don't really know who he is. He's got bad numbers, though. 5.91 ERA, 1.59 whip. His whip and ERA are anagrams of each other. He's only been slightly better on the road, but not by much. His ERA pretty close, both home and away. He walked 5 guys in his last outing against San Diego and gave up 6 runs to them. That is not a good sign. San Diego, not a good offense. I don't trust Gibson at all right now. He's only made 1 road start. It was at the Yankees, which is not an easy draw, but he didn't pitch well there either. His numbers overall are bad. He's got more walks than strikeouts. That's not going to do you any favors, although he does have a lot of ground balls, but that also kind of masks how bad you are in a lot of cases. And he's got a hit rate that's right around 1 per inning. Strikeout rate is low. Not a lot of good here from Gibson. I mean, it doesn't look to me like he's a very good pitcher. He does have an unfamiliarity advantage here, if you want to call it that, because the Dodgers have never faced him, so there is that, I guess. I don't think that's going to be enough help for him, though. I don't think he's going to pitch well here. Dodgers are going with Roki Sasaki, who is pitching better as a starter now. He's kind of figured some stuff out, but his overall numbers still don't look great. 4.76 ERA, 1.33 whip, but he is good at home, 3.26 home ERA. They converted him to a starter, and he was pitching well as a starter for like over a month, but then he got completely blown up at the White Sox. They're a good offense, but here's the thing. Sasaki seems like he doesn't have a lot of mental toughness, so having a bad start after he was cruising for a while, is that going to hang him over into this next game? A guy like him, it could, you know what I mean? Like that bad start could put him on tilt. So I do worry about that, but he was pitching quite well before that, and he is pitching well at home. So I don't know. It's tough. I could see it going both ways with Sasaki here. The Orioles only have 1 guy who's ever faced him. Taveras is 0 for 2 off him with no strikeouts and no walks. I lean a little bit more towards Sasaki is still doing okay here, but I don't know, man. I mean, it's definitely a risk. The money is fading the Dodgers here. They have 94% of tickets, 90% of the cash on them. Part of it is because laying minus 200 is just ridiculous. So, I think part of that is just the price. I think some of the professional bettors probably just see value in the number alone on Baltimore here. Money is also slightly tilted towards the over here, the total 9.5. Dodgers, by the way, minus 200, like I said, is the price on them. You know what? I think if you're going to play this game, I think Dodgers over their team total makes the most sense here, even though I know they were off yesterday, so that can cool off the hitting a little bit, and they're actually a little bit better on the road hitting, but I think the Dodgers might be able to get some runs here. You'll probably need them to score like 6 runs, though, if you want to do that. But I think they could do it against a very, very shaky young starter plus Baltimore's bullpen. And then you take the question mark of Sasaki just out of the equation. That might be a game where it does make sense to do something like that. And then the late game is the Red Sox at Seattle. This is what I was thinking of. The Red Sox didn't have yesterday off, and they have to travel cross-country with no time off. Come on, man. I mean, usually when you start a road trip, you're going to be focused, especially getting away from home might be a good thing because you're playing badly at home. One good thing for you is to go out on the road. And by the way, the Red Sox are a better road team this year. They've been hitting better on the road. They're almost 500 on the road. I don't know how they're so miserable at home, but the Red Sox are better on the road. The problem is they have to adjust to this time zone with no time off and play this late night game. You know, I talk about how difficult that is for an East Coast team to go out west. First game, it messes with your biological clock. So I don't think that's good. Plus, Seattle is the better team here, too. So I don't love that. Although Seattle did play yesterday as well, but they stay at home for this. So the Red Sox are at a pretty big travel disadvantage here. Red Sox used 2 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. They did use Chapman, but a lot of times they have him go multiple days in a row, and he hadn't pitched for a while, so he might be still available. Red Sox do have a good bullpen. That's one good thing they have going for them because there aren't many. Seattle has a good bullpen as well, but they did use some of their better relievers in a save situation yesterday. Red Sox are ranked 3rd in bullpen. I think they might have the 3rd best ERA as well. They're a good bullpen. Seattle is a pretty good bullpen, too. They're ranked 15th, but their ERA is better than that. I think the Red Sox just have a very slight bullpen edge, but both bullpens are good. Red Sox are terrible offensively, 25th, although they are better on the road. Seattle, 17th in offense, so they're a little bit better than that. Red Sox not being good offensively at home makes even less sense, given that it's a hitter-friendly park typically. I don't know what the deal is there. Starting pitching, two starters who have done well this year pitching in this game. Ronier Suarez is pitching for the Red Sox. 3.21 ERA, 1.17 whip. Pretty good numbers there. Good on the road. 2.65 road ERA. So he's been better on the road. He's been pretty good this month. He's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in both starts. Did well against the Yankees on the road earlier this month. He's got a 13-2 strikeout walk ratio this month. Pitching well. His strikeout rate's been pretty high over his last 3 starts. Strikeout rate is 9 per 9 right now, which is pretty solid. Low hit rate. His walk rate is a little bit high, but his overall numbers look pretty good here. However, he doesn't do well against Seattle. I was actually surprised Seattle has this much experience against him because he's mostly been in the National League. He's got 50 at-bats against him. He does have a 14-0 strikeout walk ratio against him. That is good. He's had good command against them, but they have really teed off on him, though. They have a 340 average against him and 893 OPS. So they've done a lot of damage to him. He's been way too hittable against them, even though he has really good command numbers. So I don't know what to think about Suarez's numbers here. Meanwhile, Seattle's going with Bryce Miller. Miller has been good this season. He came back from injury, so he came back a little bit late in the season, I think, but he's been good for pretty much the entire time. 1.54 ERA, 0.71 whip, 0 ERA at home so far. Small sample size, but still, he's been excellent at home. He's been good this month, too, with a 16-2 strikeout walk ratio and only 2 runs allowed in 14 innings, only 5 hits allowed. He's been dealing. He's been really good. Red Sox are not a good offense. Miller's got a low hit rate, low walk rate, really low, actually, and a pretty high strikeout rate on the season. All good numbers here. And against the Red Sox, he's got good numbers as well. Or no, excuse me, he doesn't. I thought he had good numbers against the Red Sox. He actually doesn't. In 24 at-bats, 292 batting average allowed, 912 OPS. So both pitchers, they're good pitchers, and they're in good form right now, but they both have bad matchup numbers. Red Sox have had only 6 guys who have faced him, though. 4-3 strikeout walk ratio, but yeah, 292 average, 912 OPS allowed. That's not good. So this is a game I'm passing on. On the surface, it looks like a pretty clear under in the game, but I don't think you want to do that because these pitchers have bad matchup numbers. Total is at 6.5, and when the odds makers put a total that low, they're telling you they think it's going to be a pitching duel here, and like on the surface, yes, it looks like it should be, but there's no leeway there. You're below that key number 7. The money is playing the over. 60% of tickets, 92% of the cash on the over. I think I would do that too. I think the over might be the way to lean there. Although usually I do not want to look at an over in a game where the total's low because it's low for a reason. The money is also backing the Red Sox. I don't think I would do that. 72% of tickets, 58% of the cash on Seattle. Seattle's around minus 120 something. Seattle's the better team, and the Red Sox having to shift time zones like this, it's going to be difficult for them. Even though, yeah, both pitchers have bad matchup numbers, so it's hard to gauge. Probably would slightly lean to Seattle, but I think an over might make more sense there. All right. Let's go to WNBA here. We're out of cup play right now. I don't know when cup play is going to resume, but whatever. We have 3 games here. Toronto at Connecticut is the first game up. This is the game where I think some of the angles make the most sense. You can go to this game for $5, by the way. Go down to Mohegan Sun. Connecticut, they're on a huge losing streak. They suck. They've lost 6 in a row. They're the worst team in the league. They played Toronto during that win streak. And by the way, it was in Toronto, and Connecticut was an 8.5-point underdog in that game, which, by the way, that means that Toronto should be more heavily favored than this here. Toronto's minus 1.5 here on the road, but these teams don't get much for home court in the WNBA, and Toronto was 8.5 at home, and they're now only 1.5 on the road. That doesn't make any sense. They should probably be about a 3.5-point road favorite here unless there's an injury or something. So I think there is actually line value on Toronto here. And as I'm going to point out in a second, I actually might lean that way a little bit. If you look at what happened in this matchup, Toronto is not going to take Connecticut for granted because Connecticut just went into Toronto during cup play and took them to overtime. You know what I mean? Like, Connecticut had a big lead. They had a double-digit halftime lead in that game. So Toronto got a big scare. And, you know, I like when the better team gets a big scare. I like them to refocus and zigzag in the next game. You know what I mean? So I do like Toronto in this game. And the money is agreeing. 71% of tickets, 89% of the cash on Toronto. They're around -1.5. I think it's a pretty cheap price to lay with them. So I like Toronto here on the spread or the money line. Now, if you start looking at this game, it's a little bit interesting. I don't know if I'd really want to play the side here because Connecticut actually dominated on the rebounds in that game. So Connecticut wasn't actually that bad in the game. They were dominant in the paint. Connecticut missed a ton of free throws. So that should be an outlier. That's an outlier that should probably progress back to some sort of mean here. Like, Connecticut probably won't shoot that badly from the free throw line again. So there are some indicators to maybe not like Toronto in the game today. So I don't love that. And both teams shot like basically average in the game. So nothing to really see there as far as an outlier. So that does worry me a little bit that the final score wasn't really that misleading in that game. But Toronto was still a big favorite, got a scare. So I do still think Toronto will play better in this game. And Toronto, by the way, as far as what they've done recently, they're coming off a loss to Indiana where they got absolutely smoked by Indiana the other night. So they're coming off an ugly blowout loss. That probably means Toronto will refocus after that and bounce back. They gave up 113 points in that game. Absolutely ridiculous. So I think Toronto's in a better spot here. Although Connecticut, you know, is probably going to be focused as well just because they've lost every game recently. But I think maybe the better way to look at this is the under, because as you can see in this previous game, the teams both topped 100 points, although it went into overtime. But the game was tied at 96 going into overtime, so that means it was a 192. 192 is where the total landed in regulation in this game. And you're going to look at this total today, and the total's 167.5, 168.5. What is up with that, right? Like, how could it be that low when these teams scored 190-something in their previous matchup? Well, yeah, but look at the reason why that happened. These teams combined for 61 free throws in the game made. 61 free throws made, and they went to the line a combined, 86 times? Is that what that is? I can't do math anymore. 80 times. I can't do math anymore. So, yeah, what I'm saying is these two teams went to the line way more than usual. There was a massive outlier here as far as the amount of free throws attempted in this game. I don't think that's going to happen again. So that jacked up this total big time as far as what happened in that game. So I think the under is the best way to play this game, actually. I don't do much with totals here. We have 88% of tickets and 91% of the cash on the over, though. So the money is coming in on the over. What was the total in that other game? Let's just see real quick. Let's see how the line has shifted from that one game to the next. Let's see if it's higher. The total in this game was right at the same number, 167.5. So, yeah, I like the under more than anything else in that game. I think it was a major outlier with the amount of free throws attempted. I don't think that's going to happen again. So, I like the under. But if you look at the way these teams have played recently, they have played in games that have gone over this total recently. Like, the majority of both teams' games have gone over this total recently. So, that does worry me a little bit. But I think an under makes sense in that game. The other games I don't have a good read on, Washington at New York. This is a mismatch. New York is definitely the better team. New York has won a bunch of games in a row. 8 games in a row. I don't know if they're going to be distracted at all by the parade that happened yesterday in New York City for the Knicks. I don't know. It was absolute chaos. So I don't know if that's going to be a distraction a day later or not, because the Liberty are playing at home here. I believe they do play in Madison Square, right? I'm pretty sure they do. Oh, no, they don't. What the fuck? They play in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. How did I not know that? I thought they played at Madison Square. Maybe they used to. I don't know. The women don't get the right to play in the cathedral or whatever the hell it is. Anyway, the Liberty just barely scraped by against Chicago in their last game. So I guess maybe they show up for this game. I don't know, man. They have LA next. Not sure if that's a big look ahead or not, but it is the start of a road trip. Liberty are returning from Chicago for this game, but it was only a single game road trip. Washington is coming off a game against Connecticut where they won, and they're one game below 500, so I think Washington will be motivated here because they're below 500. A lot of times that'll motivate you to get back to 500. And we do have a previous matchup that was really recent here in New York. Washington went to New York during the Cup. New York was a 13.5-point favorite in this game. And by the way, they're only 12.5 now, but close to 13. So the line hasn't really moved that much. But if you look at what happened in this game, the Liberty blew Washington out in this game. And yeah, the Liberty are the better team. But if you look at what happened in this game, there were some outliers here. The Liberty shot 42% from three. They hit 4 more threes. So they were plus 12 from three-point range. Washington only 28%. That's a bit of an outlier. And the Liberty had 14 fewer field goal attempts in the game. So Washington actually had more possessions in the game because the free throws weren't really that disparate as far as the attempts. Washington, had way more shot attempts, so they made fewer shots because they only shot 34% from the field. New York shot 49%, so these are outliers here where Washington had a horrible shooting game, and they should shoot better than that in this game. The Liberty might overlook them after this game, and the Liberty probably will regress a little bit, especially from three. And the other outlier was Washington shot 56% from the free throw line. They'll probably do better than that in this game. And if you look at the rest of the game, Washington actually won the rebound battle. So this game was a lot closer than the final score looked. So I like Washington in this game, and I think the Liberty may overlook them. I don't know if I love it enough to make it a play, which I know we've lost the last 3 WNBA plays I've given out, even though we won 5 in a row to start the season. And the first 2 out of the 3 losses should have been wins. So that pissed me off. But yeah, I would lean Washington here. The money is backing New York, though. 74% of tickets, 87% of the cash on them. I don't like that. It looks like the money disagrees a little bit with me, but I like Washington in that game. Then we have Minnesota Golden State. This is clearly the best of the WNBA games here, even though it's still WNBA. But Golden State's won 4 games in a row. They're staying at home. Golden State, pretty decent team, but Minnesota is the best team in the league, and they continue to win without Collier. Collier's still not back yet. This is a very, very good Minnesota team. Minnesota is staying in California for this. They just won in LA. Now they're going to Golden State. Not really a lot to figure out here as far as the situation. Both teams are going to show up for this game. These teams did play earlier in the season, and Minnesota only won by 3 at home during Cup play. And if you look at this game, Minnesota was only a 3.5-point favorite at home. Minnesota dominated the rebounds in the game, though. Minnesota had a double-digit rebound victory in the game. The one real outlier in the game, though, was Minnesota. Well, they went to the free throw line more times, almost double, but they also hit 50% of their threes in the game. So it's not good when you you hit 50% of your threes and you still only win the game by 3. But Golden State shot way more threes in the game. Still, Minnesota dominated in the rebound department, so they still were basically the better team in the game. So there are some things that kind of indicate both ways in that game. I don't really want to deal with it, but I like. I don't even know what I like in this game, actually. Minnesota's laying 2.5 on the road. They were a 3.5-point home favorite, though, so that number seems a little bit high to be laying on the road. You know what I mean? I think I would lean Golden State a little bit here. Golden State plus the points. Minnesota's around 2.5 here. 85% of tickets, 93% of the cash on Minnesota. So the money is backing Minnesota a little bit here. But the fact they were 3.5 at home and now they're 2.5 on the road, so favored by almost the same amount, I think this line should be a little bit closer to a pick'em. Golden State is definitely a competitive team, so that's kind of the way I look at that game. Then we got World Cup. Before I get out of here, afternoon is U.S. and Australia. U.S. is minus 160 on the 3-way line. The U.S. Played their first game, I believe, in California, and now they're coming up to Seattle for this, so they're staying in the Pacific time zone for this. Australia doesn't have to go that far either, though. I'm pretty sure Australia played their first game in Vancouver, and now they're coming down for this, so the travel spot actually helps Australia a little bit here, in that they're staying in the Pacific Northwest. You can check me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right. These games are on, they're all on Fox, Fox 1, Fox Sports 1, Tele, whatever. Australia, though, they are coming off an upset. They upset Turkey, which was pretty unexpected. And if you dig into this game, it was a little bit misleading. The game was a lot closer than it looked, and Turkey dominated possession in the game. Expected goals, expected Turkey to win that game 1.36 to 1.18. So this was a misleading final. Turkey probably should have won that game. So Australia was not as good as they looked in the game. They're not actually that good of a team, really. The U.S., though, I mean, they're coming off a misleading result, too. I mean, they dominated Paraguay, but if you look at the expected final score of this game, it wasn't that lopsided. The U.S., there was an own goal immediately from Paraguay, so the U.S. got helped out right away by Paraguay scoring for the U.S. Then the U.S., kind of had this barrage at the end of the first half, and then they did put in another goal right at the end after it was 3-1. They scored an extra time when it was pretty much over, whatever. But if you look at what the expected result was here, it was 1.42 to 0.54 for the U.S. So it was more like a 1-0 U.S. win in the game than what the final really was. So that does help as far as the under purposes for Saab there for today's game. I don't necessarily disagree with the under in today's game. U.S., I mean, in this game, the U.S. was the better team still. They still won the possession battle by quite a bit and whatever, and won the expected goals battle, whatever, but it was not as lopsided as it looked. So both teams are kind of teams I'd be looking to fade coming into this game. Do I think the U.S. is going to lose? Probably not. But again, I don't think you're getting any value playing them because these books are all U.S.-based books, and they know everybody's going to want to bet the U.S., so you're going to be paying a premium for the U.S. until they face a team that's actually better than them. You know what I mean? So I don't love it. That game's a stay away from me. I think my favorite look is in the Scotland-Morocco game here. Now, Morocco, they're only traveling from New Jersey here. I'm pretty sure they played in East Rutherford, New Jersey at MetLife or whatever the hell it is, the Jets and Giants Stadium. So they're only coming up from the New York area. Scotland is staying in Foxborough, Mass, though, and Scotland has basically made their home in the Boston area. So Scotland's going to have a huge amount of fan support here. So Scotland does have that advantage. I should have considered that in the first game too against Haiti. Haiti, not a very good team, although Scotland was a pretty heavy favorite in that game, maybe too heavily favored. They did wind up with the win though, Scotland did. But it was a low-scoring game, man. It was a 1-0 win. I looked at the expected score of that one, and it was close to 0-0 on the expected score. It was a huge win for Scotland, by the way, because they hadn't had a win in the World Cup for 36 years. So does that mean they're going to be in a letdown spot here? I actually don't think so. I think that kind of gets that monkey off their back, whatever. And the expected score was actually 1-1 in this game. And actually, Haiti won the time of possession slightly. So that does worry me a little bit that Scotland was not really great in that game against a bad Haiti team here. Morocco is the better team, although I think Morocco does have some injuries here. They don't have so many of those guys that were there on that run that they made, whatever it was, 4 or 8 years ago in the World Cup. Morocco is favored here at -150, but again, Scotland's going to have kind of a home advantage here, and Morocco, I think, is in a bad spot because they just had a draw with Brazil. Now, I think Brazil's not as good as they usually are this year, so I think Brazil might be a little bit overvalued here, but Morocco played to a draw with them. So Morocco coming off a huge performance like that against one of the powerhouses of soccer, you know what I mean, Brazil still is one of the top, 5 teams in odds to win this thing. So that's a big game for Morocco, man. The fact they were able to draw Brazil, that's pretty huge. So I think they could be in a bit of a letdown spot here, so I don't like that. So it does look like a fade spot for Morocco coming into this game. This game was close, though, and the expected goals actually had Morocco slightly winning the game here. I don't know what goes into that formula exactly. Brazil only slightly won the possession battle, so this wasn't the type of game where, Brazil is better than Morocco, so you'd think that the 1-1 could be a misleading result, and maybe if you dig into the box score, it would look like that, like what I talked about yesterday with Switzerland and Qatar, where it would look like statistically it would look like Brazil dominated the game. But that's not the case. They actually didn't dominate this game. So that makes you like Morocco a little bit less here because Brazil actually didn't play well. It wasn't really that misleading of a result there. So I slightly lean towards Scotland here. It would be Scotland win or draw, or what Saab did, the plus half a goal or whatever, depending on, because those are basically the same thing, right? Scotland win or draw, Scotland plus a half goal, the same thing, but they're different markets. So this is what you want to do in soccer. You want to actually look at both markets and determine which one gives you the better odds, you know what I mean? Because one of the markets is probably going to have better odds than the other one. The odds won't line up because they're separate markets. So whichever one gives you the better number, that's kind of what I would look at here. That would be my lean. Scotland, win or draw, or plus the half goal. By the way, one other way that you can look at these games to try to get the favorite price down would be a win to nil bet, which means that you're betting on that particular team to win the game, but also win in a shutout. So it looked like you could have done that with Switzerland yesterday until chaos erupted at the end of that game, and they wound up allowing a goal in garbage time, in extra time when it didn't even matter. So if you lost a win to nil bet on Switzerland yesterday, that was a brutal result there because they were winning the game 1-0 at like the 80-minute mark probably or something like that. So, the win to nil looked like it was almost a certainty at that point. That could have been a way to get Switzerland's price down, but luckily for us on the show, I gave them out just on the money line. Brazil is a huge favorite here against Haiti. They're playing. Oh, and by the way, I don't think I forgot to completely point out, Scotland is staying in the same stadium for that match against Morocco. So Scotland is already used to that stadium. Haiti is going from Foxborough, Mass, down to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to play Brazil here. Brazil is only going from New Jersey to Pennsylvania here. So Brazil, a little bit of a travel edge here. Not really much of anything though. But Brazil, coming off that bad result against Morocco, Brazil is way better than Haiti. Haiti is like the lowest ranked team in this entire thing, I think, as far as the FIFA rankings. I think Haiti is ranked lower than Curacao, although I still think Haiti is better than Curacao and maybe better than a couple of these other really lower tier teams here. Brazil should win this game, though. They're a minus 900 favorite. They should be in a bounce back mode here. I don't think I quite want to do it, but I think if you want to play this game, I think you should play Brazil over their team total. I think Haiti typically does allow a pretty good amount of goals. Scotland just couldn't take advantage of that because their offense isn't that good. Brazil over their team total makes sense. You're probably looking at needing them to score 3 goals in the game, but I think they could do that, so I think that's probably what I would do in this game. Brazil minus 900 is a non-starter. I don't think you could lay minus 900 here. You could, I guess, lay like a goal line or whatever. Take Brazil to win by some crazy amount of goals, but I think over the team total makes more sense. Then Turkey and Paraguay, you already know my thoughts on that. Paraguay is staying in California for this. Turkey, where was Turkey is coming from where? Wait, I forget already. Turkey's coming down from Vancouver, so they're still in the Pacific time zone. Down to Northern California. Paraguay's coming up from Southern California. But Turkey, they will have to go through customs, I guess, and whatever. I don't know how exactly it works. I did figure out that there are some teams like Iran that aren't allowed to stay in the U.S. at all while they're playing games in the U.S. So that's going to give Iran a travel disadvantage. So we'll talk about that the next time they play. But this game, I don't think there's a huge travel edge one way or the other. Turkey is plus 110. They're the better team here. I think they're the second best team in this group behind the U.S. As I pointed out, Turkey, kind of a misleading result here. No way they should have lost 2-0 as whatever size favorite they were here. They were only a minus 135 favorite on the 3-way, but still, they should have beaten Australia. It's kind of ridiculous that they lost this. And like I said, they dominated possession. It was a bit of a misleading result. Turkey statistically should have won that game, won that match, I should say so. And Paraguay, not a good team, dude. I mean, I know it was a misleading result against the U.S. It should have been closer. But Paraguay, they were only at 0.64 expected goals in that game. So their offense did absolutely nothing in that game. I like Turkey in this one. Turkey's coming off a game where they should have won. Like, a team usually bounces back when they're coming off a loss as a favorite, and they should have won. And they're going to be in desperation mode here because they don't have a point yet. Or no, sorry, they do. They have 1 point, right? Or no, they don't. They lost. Yeah, they need a point badly here. Now, yeah, Paraguay is pointless as well, so they're going to need a point here. Which, by the way, the U.S. might start taking their foot off the gas a little bit at some point because they have a decent amount of points already here. But not yet, though, probably, because they're tied with Australia atop that group right now. But whatever. I like Turkey here. They're the better team. They're coming off a loss as a favorite, which I think is more of a bounce-back spot. Paraguay is coming off an expected loss to the U.S., even though it was more lopsided than it looked more lopsided than it actually was, but still, Turkey is the better team. I would lean to Turkey there. And that's it, man. That's going to do it. Yeah, that's the show for today. Long show today. We have 3 baseball plays. We're on the Washington Nationals in the first 5 on the money line. A little bit of an underdog there. We're on under 7.5, or you might have to play under 7 in Padres Rangers, but I do like that to be a low-scoring game. And last minute again, 3 days in a row, we're going last minute, or 3 out of the last 4 days maybe. Yesterday's last minute addition was a win on the Royals, so hopefully we can do this over in Anaheim and the A's here, over the 10. Let's get it done. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I appreciate it. Listen to the show on audio, Apple, Spotify, Spreaker. That helps me out. We're getting some better numbers on audio recently, so that's good. Like, subscribe to the channel here. You can check that out. You should do that, excuse me, and spread the word around. We're almost up to 500 subs, so hopefully we can get there. Doesn't take much to subscribe. You don't even have to watch me. Just subscribe. That helps. Like and comment on the videos and whatever. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. You can check that out, my ukulele covers. I know I've been not in the best of health, so I've been waiting to put up some more covers there. You can check that out. Patreon.com/LearnToToad if you want to throw me some support. Even if you just want to do it because I'm giving you winners on the show here. But you also get bonus ukulele stuff there, so you could do that. I was on the Pick Is In podcast. I retweeted it. It was released last night, I think, as an episode, so you can go check that out. It was fun hanging out with those guys there with Snoop, and I apologize. I already forget the name of the other dude there. But yeah, go check their show out. It was a fun time. And then Losercast every Tuesday. That'll be back. We did have 2 episodes this week, so you can go check that out Monday and Tuesday with different guests. And the New York Giants G-Spot podcast will be back at some point. That's going to do it. I appreciate it, everybody. As always, let's get some wins today. Let's at least go 2-1 today. Peace.
But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now.